Welcome back to the Winner Circle, another installment of Moneyline Grind. This is where you go every day, likely a little after midnight on Eastern Standard Time. You get 3 free NBA picks. They're usually winners. You usually come here, spend 10 minutes, and you earn money almost every single night. And I usually give you about 3 picks, but today is a special day to celebrate another sweep that we had last night, our fourth sweep in March. We're going to give you 4 picks today, and then we're going to take those 4 picks and remix them a little bit for a nice parlay that can 10x your money. Before we go over another sweep, another perfect night, let's take a look of how good these numbers have been lately. This is just incredible. We won over 2/3 of our last 58 picks. And then let's go over three that really did it for us. I'm just so happy, especially bouncing back off of a rough night 0-2 with the void. This is how you do it. We had the fade of the day, Siakam under 31.5 PRA. He's been killing it lately, but I had to read on him. You just have to, you can rewatch the video and look at everything I said. It was all true. And he got us some free money. I think he finished with, I'm sorry, was it 23 PRA? And he was super quiet all night, except for the third quarter. He scored some buckets, got a couple rebounds, but he was quiet all night. Then we had Luka Doncic over 36.5 points plus assists. He finished with 41. There's a lot of cappers out there with hundreds and thousands of subscribers who chose Luka points, rebounds, assists, and they lost money. You come here with my humble channel here, and we're winning money quietly. And I'm okay with this. I'm winning money. That's all I care about. And I'm giving you guys this all for free. And then our third pick, which was my favorite pick. I said it was my easiest one, and it held to be true. Alex Sarr over 16.5 points. He had like 16 in the first half, finished with 24. We got paid 3-0. Clap it up. Well done. Well done. And let's just jump into the 4 picks we have today. We haven't done 4 picks in a very, very long time. Let's do it. It's always rare nowadays I throw in those little fun parlays, but man, I'm feeling really good. I got 4 picks. I know I said we're going to be conservative to end the month, but we just swept. Let's keep it going. Starting off with Scottie Pippen Jr. to score 11 or more points, minus 125. He averages 9.5 points per game on the season, 12.3 in his last 10. He scored 11 points or more in 5 of his last 6 in games without Ja Morant. In those games, he's averaged 13.5 points, and he's averaged 16.3 in his last 3 games, which are pretty much within the last week. Morant hasn't played in like the last 4 or 5. But anyway, he's averaging 16.3 in the last 3 on 59% shooting. So he's seeing the ball very well. He can get to the basket mid-range. He's doing well behind the three-point line. And OKC, they do allow the fewest points to point guards, but I think the focus here with their defense is going to be looking at Jaren Jackson Jr. You're going to look at Desmond Bane, who does a lot of facilitating when Morant is out. It's very interesting. I underestimated his ability to score, facilitate. He can rebound well. I'm not going to take Bane's props because I think the focus is going to be on a couple of other guys where you get Scottie Pippen maybe grabbing getting the ball swung to him from around the horn, and maybe he can get in the lane and cause some havoc. I didn't want any other prop but the points because he might be able to get you 2 threes and get you to the free throw line. We're in business here. That's probably my most riskiest pick, but 11 points. He's done it in 5 of his last 6 without Ja Morant, averaging 13.5. Last 3 games without Ja, last 3 games he's played, almost 60% from the field. Second pick, a guy who usually wins us money. We're going to stick to our guns here, but we have some good odds. Jared Allen over 14.5 points, minus 106. He averages 13.5 per game and 14 points per game in his last 10. Last season versus the Spurs, the 2 games they played against him, he had 26 and 29 points, probably his season highs. I didn't check that, but he normally is like a 18-point scorer on a good night. Maybe around 12 to 14 on a bad night. But the Spurs allow the most points to opposing centers. And then when we look at centers versus the Spurs, let's take a look at some of the games they played over the last 10. Jalen Duren, only 9 shots. He had 6 of them, scored 14 points. Efficient, got you right there. Yabusele, who's a little rough around the edges offensively. 11 for 16. He saw that as an advantage that game, I would imagine. 23 points there. Karl-Anthony Towns, he could score from all 3 layers. 11 for 21, 32 points. Kessler Edwards, he had a game where he had, well, I didn't put his points down. I think I remember them though. He had 6 for 8. I want to say he had 14 or 16 points that game. And then he was 9 for 12 with 22 points another game within the same week. And Rudy Gobert, who I think stinks offensively, had 16 points on 7 of 8 shooting. I'm thinking Jared Allen, who has a success record against the Spurs. The 2 games where he had 26 and 29 last season, both Wemby and Shohan were in the mix. No Wemby this time, maybe a little easier. That was pick number 2. Now, pick number 3, another guy. Another guy. You haven't heard from him in a while, though, because this team is a little hard to bet on. You never know what lineup you're going to get out there. But this is Colin Sexton, over 15.5 points, minus 137, averaging 18.1 on the season. Last 9 games, 17.6. So this is looking in our favor. 16 plus points in 14 of last 17 games without Lauri Markkanen. 16 or more points in 15 of last 7 without Jordan Clarkson. Both of those, while some of these games are overlapping, both of those guys will not be in the lineup tomorrow. So Colin Sexton will get the start. And typically when we think of Colin Sexton, almost kind of like when you think of a Jordan Clarkson kind of fellow, you're thinking high volume. His minutes have been a little inconsistent lately, a little bit too inconsistent for my liking. But we had to stick to the guns here because we know he's going to put up the shots. He may have the best matchup when you look at Isaiah Collier. He's a little bit heavier. He's a little bit heavier than Colin Sexton, so maybe you want the taller green on Collier, and maybe Sexton gets the matchup with Van Vliet, and that's the case, and this is going to be very, very easy money. But I do believe Colin's going to put the numbers up. He's probably, in his mind, he's probably thinking he's going to be the best player on the Jazz out there. Last time these two teams played, Colin Sexton may have been hurt. I didn't see his name in the box score. But Keontae George off the bench, who's also kind of like a combo guard, had like 30 points. So these guys give up some points to the point guard position. We're hoping not a blowout here, but the Rockets haven't been able to cover lately. And all season long, the Jazz have been pretty decent against the spread, especially the bigger spreads. And then my last pick. So I was torn between the Colin Sexton pick and this pick because I really want to get an under in here. The unders have been doing well for us so far. So I hope I didn't force this by just making sure I had an under, but I like the read here. Najee Marshall, under 18.5 points, minus 115. Averages 13.5 on the season. Yeah. But last 10 games, 24-2. So that's, that's like 30%. He's averaging higher than what this line is. So that's a little scary, but this might be one of those bets where the average guy just looking at averages and not reading into it may fall for it. He's averaging 17.8 field goal attempts in his last 10 games versus his season average of 10.5 because these guys are banged up. They're very banged up. But now you should have P.J. Washington kind of in the lineup. But even bigger than that is AD. AD just recently played a couple of minutes last game, and he should be back, and he should have a little bit more of a role. Dallas is fighting for some position here in the postseason, but this changes the dynamic. Like I said, he didn't play many minutes last game, but in this first game with Dallas, we saw he had to go through the offense through Anthony Davis, and great things happen. From there, you can create some mismatches because you're going to have to send doubles, and now you get to play inside out. You can swing the ball, which benefits usually guys who can shoot. Guys like Klay Thompson or even Dinwiddie. I'm not going to take those props because I think this is easier money. But Najee Marshall isn't really a dynamite three-point shooter. He could get you shoot 1 out of 2, maybe 2 out of 3 on a good night for him. But he's not a guy who's going to be drilling these. So I don't think he really benefits the new inside-out kind of playing style they'll see as opposed to how has it been for the last, few weeks. And then I think there's an issue here that we're not really analyzing is you have to deal with Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. Magic allowed the fewest points per game to opposing small forwards due to their defense. They play a little bit slower pace. They lock up on the perimeter especially. And they have two decent defenders who can guard multiple positions, both bigger and smaller, in Franz and Paolo. But we don't really take into account that opposing small forwards really have their hands full. Who do you want to guard? Either way, you got some big bodies there, but Paolo Banchero is a tank, and I think there's something to be said where you have to guard somebody that big, and you're banging into each other, Pauls. You're bumping. He can handle the ball. You're getting called for fouls. You're getting frustrated. It can get hard to score 19 points when you're. I don't even know if he thought he would be on the roster by the end of the season. Those are my 4 picks. Can we go 4-0? That's hard to do. I like to go back-to-backs and keep, especially the bets the same, and try to see how many back-to-backs we can go. But our 4 sweep of March. So let's do 4 picks. And then I put these 4 picks, I remixed them a little bit and got us a parlay. So 4-legger plus 1,006. Here we go. Colin Sexton, 17 or more points. Scottie Pippen Jr., we notched it down to 10 or more points. Najee, under 18.5 points. And Jared Allen, 15 or more points. $5 wins you 55. I would love to hit these 4, so I could say we hit 7 in a row, and then this little 10x parlay. That's all I got for you. I got these picks out early. I hope you enjoy, man. Keep hitting the like button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Make sure you're subscribed. There's a large amount of people in the analytics that say we're just watching it but not subscribing. Are you not entertained? I'm giving you winners. Just click the dang button for me, please. Jeez Louise. Otherwise, I'm going to start charging for picks. Just give me the subscribers. I think that's a fair deal. Anyway, best of luck. Let's get that money.